So today what I'm going to do is I'm finally going to be topping up my thyme. One of the first things that we did when we moved into this house, because we would ideally in the long run, we're aiming to have a few fruit trees. I would like to have quail, a few cold frames, maybe a few raised beds. Our garden is pretty big by most English standards, but it's not so big that we could grow all our food. The idea is that it's to supplement, not completely replace. I'm going to start getting the dried thyme for the rest of the year. I did a video a while back where I showed how I made dried apple crisps for the whole year, and what I'm doing is each year I'm adding kind of a new skill, a new herb, a new food that I know that I can regularly prepare, don't have to buy, and just trying to be self-sufficient. We're not ever going to be completely self-sufficient. I don't think it's possible to ever be self-sufficient. The way I figure it's just one thing at a time. So first thing I've been doing is I've been growing herbs. I haven't had to buy any dried thyme in over a year, possibly two. I haven't had to buy any chili peppers in a year because I grow my own. It's just bit by bit. I have chives in the garden, oregano, I have eucalyptus, which okay fine, it's not a herb, but it is a very nice smelly tree that's very nice when you have it in the shower. I'm not a natural gardener. I have killed far more plants than I've ever managed to grow. Because it's spring, you've got all the new growth on the thyme. That thyme has gone nuts, it's growing everywhere, so not only does it need to be cut back, it's the best time to cut it back because the thyme is going to taste amazing. So the goal is today to cut back all that thyme, dehydrate it, prepare it, and then try and get enough so that I'll be completely covered for at least 6 months, if not a year. A year would be ideal. If I'm covered from now all the way till spring, that would be ideal. I will need to cut the thyme again, so I might have extra, in which case I can give the family some nice homegrown thyme. That's fine by me. So that is the goal for today. So here we go. Here is a new whole bowl full of thyme. I know that there are a few bugs in this, so I'm going to need to give that a few washes. I could probably cut more, but this is all that I'm going to do for today, and then I'll give it another week or two, and then I'll cut a new batch and just keep adding to my stash that way. This is the thyme now. It got washed quite a few times yesterday, and now while it's not bone dry, it's just as wet as it would be as if I'd cut it outside and brought it in. So it's pretty nice and dry, and yeah, now I just need to slice it up. I know that there aren't any more bugs or ladybirds on there, so that's good. And yeah, now we just need to slice it. After you've started slicing up the thyme, you want to lay out some baking paper on the dehydrator sheet. This thing kept curling, so I just put a little pot over it just to hold it into place, and then I took a long knife and just started slicing up. You could also use herb scissors, that will do the trick as well. I just prefer to use a knife because we have a small kitchen and I don't have a ton of space for utensils. So I'm going to start laying that out on the dehydrator sheet. Later on, once everything's on the sheet, I'm just going to make sure that there aren't any mounds of the stuff, that it's laid out as thinly as possible, and then I'm going to stick it in the dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, don't worry about this, just put them in your oven, crack the door open, put the oven on the lowest possible heat, and then put a timer for 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes check it, and once you think it's dry enough, then it's done. But with the dehydrator that I have, I just put it on the herb setting, and then I leave it for 2 or 3 hours, depending on how thick the herb is. So this is what this looks like. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. This has dried for, it was 4 hours, which was probably a bit excessive. It really didn't need it, but because it's on a low heat, I'm not worried about it getting damaged. The danger with dehydrating herbs is putting the heat too high, but because I have a setting on my dehydrator, I know that's not going to happen. I'm going to put a little bit of it in the bottle, but as you can see, all that thyme I dried yesterday, if I'm lucky, is going to fill this much of the bottle. You can dehydrate an absolutely insane amount and only fill half the bottle. It does take time to build up a reasonable stash. I do actually have a funnel for this, but I was using it to make some bone broth, and it's currently dirty and I don't have time to clean it, so I'm just going to be using my hands. I've just cleaned my hands. This is another thing, if you're putting food away or dealing with food, just please clean your hands. It takes 30 seconds. I'll just keep this in the bottle for the moment, and the rest I'm going to bag just to show you how to bag it. This is my cupboard, and here I keep all the silica gel. As you can see, I've collected a lot over time, and that's not even including the ones that I currently use for things like the dehydrated apple, but there's always an ever-growing stash here. And then back here I have loads of plastic bags that I've collected. And again, a lot of these are just things from either technology that I've bought. If you buy a camera, they often come in these little bags. Sometimes if you buy t-shirts or jumpers, they come in these really big bags that are really useful. So I have a variety of sizes here. I'll find one which is the right size for the herbs that I'm going to use. Normally I'd use a big bag, and then we just need to pack it away. Okay, so this is about the right size. So this is the one that I'm going to use for the thyme. And that's a little bit depressing, all that time that took so long to dehydrate, and this is all that I've managed to fill up. So now I'm going to take the silica gel. This is the kind of size that you're going to find if you buy a pair of shoes. This is the kind of size that you'll find in medication, in pregnancy tests. Also, if you order anything that's silk, you tend to find little sizes like this. So as you can see, I've got a lot of different sizes. I'm going to put a nice big one in there. If I was going to put a small one, I'd either put 2 small ones into a bag this size or a large one. I'm going to use the large one just because I don't use them very often. And this will do the trick. And even though I know that this is bone dry, let's just say for the sake of argument that that wasn't the case, if there were 1 or 2 pieces which hadn't dried properly, this is going to mitigate that and you'll be absolutely fine. So that is my video on how to dehydrate thyme and store it and use it, and it's a piece of cake. It's pretty much exactly the same that you're going to have to do with any other kind of herb, so don't think that this is the way that you have to do it just with thyme. You can do this with other herbs. I wouldn't do it with chives. I mean, you can dehydrate chives, but there isn't that much of a difference between the taste of chives in spring and in the middle of the winter. I mean, I wouldn't go cutting chives down too much in winter just because you could kill the plant. But if you have a massive growth of chives, you're going to be fine if you take the end off. And I have done this many, many times, and my chives are still fine. Hopefully within the next 3 to 6 months, I'll have a proper herb garden. I can start making a lot more of my teas and start collecting a lot more herbs for my kitchen. And I'm quite excited about that. But anyway, I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it useful, and I will have more like this for you soon.